On Thursday, April 21st, there was a court hearing in the Letecia Stauch case. Letecia wasn't there, but she did get excused by the judge. Letecia has been on her third evaluation. She's already had 2 in the past in which she was deemed competent both times. But there is now another delay in the case, and I've found a few things that were very interesting that I wonder why there should be a delay, seeing as how this kind of information has come up over a year ago. So I'm very curious at this point. So let's get into it. The day before the court hearing on Thursday, April 21st, the judge gets a letter from the hospital where Letecia has been getting her evaluation. It stated that they need more information. Now, in November, Letecia pled not guilty, and she changed her plea in February from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity. So she was sent for this third evaluation, and from my understanding, it is different than the other 2 evaluations. And the hospital said that they could probably get Letecia's evaluation finished by the end of May, which is another month from now. And her trial was already supposed to happen. Also, in February's hearing, Letecia considered waiving her right to a jury trial, saying that she wouldn't be able to get a fair trial. Now, we heard that also a year ago. She's been saying this for quite some time, and the judge didn't rule on that. He said, we'll hold off and we'll come to that conclusion later. So now the hospital needs more information. So Letecia's lawyer, Josh Tellini, and a social worker are in South Carolina this week trying to round up her alleged records. Now, I found references to these records. I don't know if they're the same, but she did talk about records in South Carolina way back, and I thought, where did I see that? And I found it. It was over a year ago. It was in April that it came out, but she wrote a letter to Judge Werner. Remember that? She wrote him in February of 2021, and she talked about this. If you want to see the full letter, I did do that in a previous video. I'll put that in the description box below, but I'll read you a little excerpt regarding these case files, or these files, I should say, from South Carolina. So in this letter, there's a lot of complaining to Judge Werner, and she's saying that she doesn't want her lawyers, she has all these things, issues against her, blah, blah, blah. And she says, I had a very difficult morning mentally because I am not mentally well. One of the main issues with my attorneys is their lack of ability to gather evidence. Due to this, I find little value in the term expert. First, they were unable to obtain my mental health records from Charleston, South Carolina, when I finally paid a firm in South Carolina to obtain them. In 2016, I was diagnosed with and received treatment before work for over 28 hours of care. The school district even provided extra services and later let me medically resign due to the ongoing reality breaks. In 2018, I was hospitalized in Canada, crossing the border for 2 days and completed more of treatment when I returned. I tell you this because it sets the stage for why I cannot work with my attorneys. I signed release forms for them to get all this information so they would have a letter understanding of why I'm all over the place some days. I asked them to use the info from a non-biased doctor, wait for it, who worked with me more than 2 hours, but instead they sent a lady who was clearly an actress and friends with the DA. She spoke about him in an unprofessional manner, their history, and his election. Now, I'm sure all of this was true, but I thought she worked for the court, not one particular side. My attorneys did this to make me look like a perjurious individual. Instead, it was malfeasances on their part. I have included several reasons to support my claim as I kept a timeline of these conflicts. So she gives these little point forms of communication is broken beyond repair. She says, inconsiderate of evidence, it says. My evidence and overlooking statue of evidence, not statute, statue of evidence, and sharing info. And her judge, and it goes on and on. Like I said, you could go and watch the other video. It's interesting because she talks about this a year ago, over a year ago. So why, if there are files on Letecia, why don't they already have it? Now, granted, Letecia had different attorneys, right? Because she ended up going pro se, so she was going to represent herself. And then she ended up getting Josh Tellini. And so I still wonder, though, if she's complaining and moaning about it over a year ago. Where are these documents? Why is there a delay? Why is the state hospital sending this letter a day before a hearing, which they already pushed out by a month? And then here we are, and we're talking about the same thing. Maybe there's something else I don't know, but this is rather curious, don't you think? So my question also is this another attempt to delay by Letecia, telling these doctors that there's all these records? I'm sure she told them way back. I mean, you'd think she would, unless this is one of her tactics. Another thing I want to bring up is the fact that way back when this was first being investigated and Gannon was not yet found, Letecia decided to go to fakepolygraph.com, pay for services where you can submit the questions you want asked and then you provide the answers. So she did that, and the owner brought that over to the police. Obviously, it had to do with, murder. So she submitted that. So I thought, she needed to do that, and she paid somebody for that. And here we are, she paid somebody to get these records. So this is curious. I'm wondering what's going to come from this. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts below. Do you think there's fake files? Do you think that the files are there? Or what do you think the reason is why they haven't been provided in, really 2 years? Because it's been 2 years, but 1 year since this letter to Judge Werner, over a year. Let me know below. Now, here's the other thing. So November, she gave her first plea. December, there was a hearing, and then February, she changed her plea. So I brought up my old notes because it says that Josh Tellini stated he's going to introduce evidence of Letecia's mental condition after the disappearance of Gannon Stauch. And District Attorney Michael Allen said they will need reports of what that evidence is. This was back in December, so that they can prepare for it. And he also said that if they're going to bring up Letecia's mental health, that she should be tested in a facility, which is what is going on right now. But the other thing is, the judge agreed that she needs to go to get an evaluation done, but he said it was odd for the specific time of just after Gannon's disappearance and not before. And Mr. Tellini said in that court hearing that it wasn't regarding not guilty by reason of insanity. So it's interesting here, again, how this was all said there, and then, 2 months later, let's put the plea in for not guilty by reason of insanity. There's another spot in Judge Werner's letter that she said, and she talks about somebody and her innocence. Let's just read that, shall we? It says, "Indeed, I am innocent, but I will not put myself or others in danger running the defense against my biological son," that's still a question mark for all of us, "when the system is letting 2 men run free who are involved. One is a prominent member of an independent business. They used the not guilty by reason of insanity to get a hearing, knowing I'm not guilty to cover up their lack of representation. Although I had bouts of insanity, and still do, I did not murder or abuse anyone, nor would that be a defense because it's my understanding that you actually did do it. However, I will protect my bio son, and I will protect the drugs and violence documented from my stepson." The internet went crazy with this because we're like, what the heck is she talking about? What bio son? What's she talking about? She has a daughter, all this stuff. It was, crazy pants, but I'm sure that's what she wanted to do. So it's interesting here. I would love to see what she had to say now, because this is all the innocence. Notice she didn't say, "I did not murder or abuse Gannon." She said, "I did not murder or abuse anyone, nor would that be a defense." But in a not guilty by reason of insanity, pretty much says that, okay, it happened, but I'm not guilty because of this insanity ruling. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting here, but we've seen lies upon lies upon lies with Letecia over and over again. I don't even know if she even knows what her real name is, not because she's crazy, but just because she tells so many lies, including Eduardo. And then she goes on to say that there's wrongful incarceration. But yet, here we are. Also, I want to bring up one more point about this, insanity thing. On the day that Gannon died and was murdered, Letecia called authorities over to the house, and she said that Gannon was missing. He ran away. And she did all these things very coherent. She went hiking that day. The day before she went hiking, I should say, she just got a new job. She was doing all things quite coherent. And yet, some point there's going to be some psychosis brought up or whatnot. I don't think she's going to be deemed incompetent again. She's already been deemed competent twice. I don't know what the cockamamie files are going to be in South Carolina. Letecia does have a criminal record before too. I don't know if any of that had to, get her to do any more therapy or whatever it was. But I feel like if there was something there, that would have been brought up, 2 years ago when this all first happened. She's been cranking about it for over a year, but why doesn't the defense have it? I wonder if it's going to be an unnecessary trip. It's going to be interesting. And one more thing, we got to remember that there were internet searches, quite a few, from Letecia's phone. And one of her searches, which was, stuck out to me, was one day some people will wish they treated you differently. So I'm just curious how they're going to put all this together for an insanity defense. Also, I got to bring up her quote because it's just ridiculous. But in court, it says, "It might sound audacious, but I'm really good at poker. And you know that saying, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them? I've got the winning hand, an ace in the hole." Let's see it, Letecia. Her next court hearing is June 9th, and I will update you when that happens. We're still a ways now from trial. It was supposed to already start at the end of April, it was, and now it's been pushed back some more. So who knows after June? Hopefully it's not going to be too late. Justice needs to happen for Gannon, and maybe it'll be his birthday present for September. Hopefully. I hope it doesn't go any further than that. Check out Judge Warner's letter here. She's done a few of them. And also check the playlist below. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please like and don't forget to share. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.